Well, good morning everyone. Hope you've had a wonderful month since the last video, and I'm sorry that the last couple have been a little bit, low effort. I've been tired, busy, getting on with stuff, but heading off to uni in a very short amount of time, which isn't terrifying. But I'm film uni, so more of this should be a lot of good fun. Anyway, I'm gonna neaten things up for you, and then I'll get on with the proper bit of the video. But just thank you for watching. Please keep watching, this isn't the final bit. And thanks to those who always watch and, stick around, so appreciate all of you. Oh, see now. Isn't that a little bit better? Looking a little bit, cleaner, a little bit fresher. Anyway, on to the video. So, to anyone who knows my channel, even a little bit, you might be aware that it's for me to create stuff that I want, me to get out there to practice things, to get better at stuff. But also, seeing a video get almost 600 views, beautiful, made me feel so incredibly wonderful, so thank you for that. But other than the one video that's got to that, they've all been watched by 70 people, which it's still good, and I'm still very happy for all those who do. But I'm aware that when I talk to the camera, rather than just creating some artsy thing that no one cares about, it gets better views, more people actually care. So we're gonna do that today, building off the last most popular video of you take bad photos on your phone. This one's gonna be slightly more, you've just got your first camera and you're thinking, oh god, what is an P8 maps? And what do they mean? So we're gonna go through that today. In this one, we're gonna mostly be talking about the M mode, the manual setting. So we're gonna talk about triangle, the little shutter speed, aperture, ISO, say what they are, explain what they do, how they affect each other, and hopefully you come away feeling a bit more confident in manual and less stuck in auto. Get into it. Now look, right, this video, I'm not going to be focusing on all of the basics. That's far too broad a topic. Composition, lighting, mastering, all that. Not today. Today, this dial here. Some call it Hasm, some call it Sam. It's the mode dial. By default, it will be here in auto, and that's where most people will start off. Start there. You'll learn how your camera feels. You'll learn what it likes. You'll learn how to move on, and you can focus on more interesting topics like your composition, or models, or framing, or anything fun, like all of that jazz. But then, when you want to start taking it a little bit more seriously, you'll move over one. Now, you're in P. P means program. It's virtually the same as auto, but this time it's got less of the AI, oh look, it's a car, oh look, it's that, or it won't look at it and go, oh, food, will expose it like this. It's just guessing. It uses your light meter and clever maths that I don't know how they work, and gets your exposure right, but completely by itself. So your ISO, aperture and shutter will all be controlled by the camera. You don't get a say. And I think it's a fun way to learn what the settings do, and it explains it for you sort of. But when you want to start experimenting a little bit more, it's good to move over again. A is not apples, it's aperture priority. Funny one there. When your dial's set to A, this means aperture priority. Now this is the iris inside the lens that controls how much light can get in. When you're shooting an aperture, like I am, or f1.8 here, the background will be all blurry. It's beautiful and wonderful. Can't even see him down there. Ugh. Anyway, this lens will go to 2.8 because it's a zoom lens. Most zoom lenses will be 3.5 to 5.6 changing. This one's a bit more bougie. This one stays at 2.8 the whole time. But staying in aperture priority mode means that you can control the aperture and how blurry the background is, but your camera will look after the shutter speed and the ISO, keeping your exposure correct. Next on the dial is S. S means shutter speed. This is how long your shutter is open for. Some cameras will only have an electronic shutter, like in a phone, where there's no room for a mechanical shutter going up and down and chunking and clunking. Most SLR style bodies, single lens reflex, or mirrorless cameras even, all have mechanical shutters. Some don't, but we're ignoring that for now. The longer your shutter is open, the more light will get in, obviously, but also the blurrier your image will be if you're not on a tripod. Some people will have the shutter open for seconds or even minutes at a time to create long exposures. People use this mostly for nighttime photography, seeing the stars, but also to blur out water in a waterfall to make it look all silky and smooth and pretty. Most of the time though, you'll shoot with a much higher shutter speed, maybe 100, 200, even if it's a bright day, maybe 400, 500. Most cameras go up to thousandths of a second. This can go to 1/4000th of a second. That is incredibly quick and mostly only used for sports photography or unless you're on a very, very bright day and really need to cut down on the light. And now, the fun one. Manual. Shooting in manual can be pretty daunting. See, your exposure might be completely wrong. Way too dark, way too bright, you can't see anything, it's blown out. What's going on? And an easy way to fix this is putting your ISO into auto. You still control your aperture and your shutter speed, but the camera controls the ISO. Now this can be good because it means your exposure is correct, but it can also trick you into thinking your settings are correct when they might not be. So you might have a shutter speed that's 1/500th on a somewhat cloudy day, and your aperture is at f4. You might look at your screen and go, "Ooh, that's nice, that looks pretty," but your ISO might be at 12,800, and that can really ruin your image if you don't know what you're doing. If your ISO gets too high, then it can look really noisy. But a common misconception is your ISO creates noise. Now that isn't true. What really happens is your ISO boosts the brightness, the sensitivity of your sensor. This means that dark parts look noisier, and they are, but it's the same level of noise that would happen if you boosted it in post. So using a high ISO is fine, but try to stick to your base ISOs if you can, or if it's a bright enough day, push it up a little bit, but try not to go to the 10s, 20s, or in some Sony cases, hundreds of thousands of ISO, because it gets to a point where it's not worth it. And when you're then comfortable shooting with your aperture and your shutter speed doing your own thing, you know how they work and how to expose properly, then you can take your ISO off auto. You can start controlling it, making sure the image looks exactly how you want. And so now, back to that triangle, the one I mentioned earlier, you see all of these three things are linked. They all control exposure and they all control a different part of how your image looks. Your shutter speed is how sharp your image might be. Using a higher shutter speed, you can freeze motion better, alright? A longer one, blurry, you need a tripod, all that. Aperture, a high number means a small hole, meaning less light can get in, and the image might be sharper, but it's also darker and the background is more in focus. Whereas a lower aperture means a bigger hole, might be blurrier background, look prettier, be brighter, but can also introduce things like chromatic aberration or the longitudinal aberration that I really would not worry about if you're just starting, as that's a massively nerdy thing that even most pros just don't seem to care about. But all three of the elements are linked. Much like if you know fires, you need your heat, your oxygen, and your fuel. You need all three of your components in your camera to be working together. Once you understand how one of them works, move on to the next one, get how that one works, then try using both of them at the same time with manual mode. On most cameras, no matter what mode you're in, you can put your ISO in manual or automatic. This can help you pick two things you want to focus on and not worry about one of them, making sure your exposure will look at least mostly correct every time.